Welcome to After the Buzzer Sports Podcast, the show that's all about real sports and real issues. And we've got a great show in store for you today. So I want you to go and tell all your friends and your families and share on both Facebook and YouTube. And make sure you like and subscribe and follow our channels. It's a great show. Let's go.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys and girls out there After the Buzzer Sports Podcast land? Hey, we got a great show tonight. It is a Friday evening. We want to finish the week off strong. We got a special guest that's going to join us tonight. We got some topics that we really want to dive into that's kind of happened over the week. So, of course, Marvin Orange always with you. A friend of the show, Coach Teddy Keaton, always bringing that heat, as you know. I'm going to introduce our special guest just in a second. But let's talk about some of the things we want to get into tonight, guys. We got some pretty good topics we want to delve into. The Chiefs and Texans played last night. And during the Lift Every Voice and Sing, we had some boos in the crowd, vehemently booing the show of unity amongst the players on the field. What do you guys think about that? What are your thoughts about what happened in the stands? What does that say about the NFL? What does that say about our country as a whole? Let's get your thoughts on what you think about that. Also, Dak Prescott's in the news. He opened up recently about his struggles with depression. He lost his brother, and he wanted to be open and honest about how he felt about that and how it's affected him moving forward as a professional athlete. I think in the Black community, sometimes we tend to kind of stray away from those issues. So we wanted to talk about that tonight and kind of see what it meant for him to come out. And then Skip Bayless was in the news talking about he just needs to get over it and be quarterback. So let's talk about what you guys think about that. Pretty heavy talk, but I think it's something we need to discuss. Also, Black athletes in today's culture, especially considering the climate of our country today, what is their responsibility? What should we really, truly expect from Black athletes? Should they be political advocates, social advocates for us? What do you think that their role really is in our culture and our society today? I wanted to touch on HBCUs, trying to attract some of the top talent in the country. What is it that HBCUs need to do to start to shift this paradigm of college sports? Is there anything that they can do to start recruiting top-notch athletes to kind of shift the way that the college game is played and the way that we look at HBCUs? Also, I wanted to talk about, we get a lot of questions from parents about what they should be asking college recruiters when it comes to recruiting, the questions that they should be asking, what they should be looking for in terms of programs. We got some really good insight on the show, so I did want to talk about that and bring it up. And then we'll kind of finish it off and go on the record about the Super Bowl, who we got from the NFC, who we got from the AFC. We're going to lighten it up a little bit at the end, get these guys' picks and see how you feel. But first, before we dive into this, I do want to introduce our special guest. It's Coach Chris Williams. I'm going to let him speak a little bit, tell us about himself. Then we're going to dive into these questions. Coach, it's on you.
How are you guys doing? I appreciate you guys having me on tonight. But just real quick, I mean, I'm a long-time arena football head coach. I've been around, probably now working on, 20. I did 20 years of arena football. Spent some time in the CFL as a scout there in the CFL. My background, we actually, Coach Keaton and I go way back because we started together, and actually my first head coaching job, Coach Keaton was my defensive coordinator, and we did some really good things together and have kept a good friendship going for life. I mean, we established a brotherhood in a weird way, and I may not tell you the story, but we met in a very weird way, but we became really good friends and went up the ladder together, and so that's my background. So glad to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Appreciate you joining us, Coach. So let's dive in, guys. Let's head this first topic. See how we're feeling about this. Everybody, again, like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, give us some of your comments, tell us what you think so we can answer that. So let's go, guys. The game last night, we had some booing in the crowd, show of unity amongst the players. It seems that some fans didn't like what they were seeing. What do you guys feel about that? How do you feel? What does that say about the NFL? What does that say about us as a country? What does that say to Black athletes? So, Coach Keaton, I'm going to let you start this off. Tell us how you feel, and we're going to have a little conversation about this.
Well, truly, it's what we are in America right now. We're divided. We've always been divided. I think that we're the gladiators, and when you come to football, they come to watch us, and they pay their money to come see us play. And, it goes back to the sportscaster who told LeBron James to just shut up and dribble. We shouldn't have a stance. We gave you a position that, we're paying you millions of dollars to entertain us. Your job is to go out here, run the football, do what we ask you to do, and don't have no say. So it goes back to the kneeling with Colin Kaepernick. Everybody felt a certain type of way. But these kids have feelings. They humans. They understand that what's the social justice that's going on, the injustice that's going on amongst the people. So why shouldn't they they got a platform that's larger than any other platform in America that a group of black men could be on, and they found a way to be able to take their platform and use it to their ability. I think there's still more that they could do, but it really showed when they're booing them how they feel about it. And I think if you look at it any other way, then you really kidding yourself to think that that's how they really feel. Because the average person knows that we play ball. That's what we do. Most of our guys are athletes. We had this the last time. And most of our black men who play that athletic sport, that's their way of protesting. And they got with the NFL to get them to do the things that they wanted them to do. And for you to sit up and boo, but you're mad because we kneel at your national anthem, but you boo at the national anthem of African American people. That's my take on it.
Coach, what you think, Coach Williams?
Man, I'm just of the opinion that there's a lot of people just really don't want to understand what it is that we're looking for. I mean, you talk to people in conversations and we'll say, hey, this all we want is to be treated equally. All we want is to be seen in the same light as everybody else that walks the face of this country. And some people just don't want to understand that. So when you see the boos or you hear the boos and you hear people, arguing against the points of what it is that we're trying to say that we're looking for. I mean, I just take it as, me personally, I just take it as flat out disrespect. I mean, there's people that do not want to, to really, really listen. And those people, in some ways, those people may be so close-minded that you'll never be able to change, the way they think. But I'm telling you, I mean, it's a total disrespect. And when you start talking about, what Coach Keaton is saying there. I mean, you can cheer for us when we're making touchdowns and we're making baskets, but when we've got an issue, you don't want to hear that issue, and you don't want to give us, any room to pierce your ears when it comes to what it is that we truly want. So it's a shame, man. Shame.
It is. And, Coach, the way you started off, it just made me kind of think of what is it that we can do, right? We can't sleep in our own home in peace. We can't wear a hoodie. We can't eat Skittles. We can't have a toy gun. We can't stand in unity. We can't kneel. Yep. There's nothing that we can do that you like. You want us to entertain you. That's what you want us to do. And anything else, anything beyond that, it's be quiet, do what you're supposed to do. And I think that last night, that just reiterated that point to me. Now, the people in the stands probably are the people who don't pay attention to much anyway, because I know personally I wouldn't go to a game with what's going on today. So you probably have, people who decide to go to football games might not be the best of the best, even though maybe I shouldn't say that, but let's just go ahead and say it. So I'm not surprised, but it was a show of unity. Guys came together last night to talk about, just oppression, to talk about people being treated fairly and equally, but when they played Lift Every Voice and Sing, and they started booing to that was just, okay. You don't want us to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, Marvin, you in Kansas City. Most of those drink Bush and Pabst Blue Ribbon.
He said, Rolling Rock.
Rolling Rock. That's where you were at. You were in Kansas City. And I still think that they, as Coach Williams alluded to, they don't care about they don't even know what we're fighting for. You ask people to say Black Lives Matter, they'll come back with a statistic to say all lives matter and right. Black Lives Matter. Why are they killing each other? Right. Well, when you put in an oppressed situation, most of the people that's there, in my neighborhood, we're not killing each other. The reason being because we all go to work every day. We live, we got things to do. But in those areas that was created back in the 60s, the 50s and the 40s, where you segregated the country and you put the poor with the poor. There's poor white neighborhoods. Most of the people that goes to football games, that is their life. They're probably the most. I had a statistic when I was sitting with a certain coach, and he said that most of the people that come to a football game are not even alumni of the college. They're regular, they're regular working people that go to work every day, and they'll spend their whole check to get a ticket to see this game. And most of them don't have any social, the only social world they know is the world that they live in. And the world they live in is what they believe in. And that's why it's so easy to trick certain people to vote for certain people, because all you got to say is whatever they want to hear that's going to benefit them, whether you're going to do it or not. They got the vote already, and they follow them because they don't understand policy, procedures, and the whole that. I still don't believe that there's systematical racism, but the system is not broken. It's performing just like it was designed to perform, and we still can't overcome it. And that's why we're still fighting like it was with Martin Luther King and all these other people that came along. We shall overcome and singing and all that stuff. But guess what? They just sit back. It disappears in 2-3 weeks. It's just like any news. I recall myself getting in trouble when I was a coach, and the guy told me, it's just like tomorrow. The sun will rise tomorrow. You'll be old news, just like it was yesterday. Something new's going to come along. And that's how they wait Black Lives Matter out. They just say, we'll let them protest for a little bit. It'll burn out, and something new will come along, and we'll forget about all this, and we'll be back to playing basketball and dribbling.
Right.
And I think that's why there was such a push to get the NBA basketball back going, because they wanted it to be business as usual. They, we can put a Black Lives Matter on the court. We can put some stuff on the back of your jersey to say that we support a cause. But we know at the end of the day, the real entertainment is you on the court dribbling that ball and dunking and doing the things that you do. And then everything that's outside of that, you kind of forget. Do you guys think, just to kind of pose a question, if we think back to the civil rights movement and guys who lost things, like Muhammad Ali lost part of his career, like guys lost things. Do you think it's going to take some players that are prominent that are just going to have to lose a career, like Kaepernick has lost? Because right now it looks like a lot of lip service. It looks good. It's a lot of hashtags. It feels good that people are kind of doing this. But until we start affecting the bottom line, it's not going to really change anything. Do you think some players are going to have to stand up and just be willing to lose a career to see change? Do you think the guys are equipped to do that today?
I'll let you go, Coach.
Yeah, me personally, I would question if guys are equipped to do that today. I think those guys, I've looked at, we've got LeBron James right now that does a good job of standing up and speaking for us, and I think right now even him, I'm not quite sure how that would compare to the Muhammad Ali's back in the day, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So I don't know that these guys are, it's not necessarily a criticism, but I'm not so sure that they are equipped to do what it is that really needs to be done and really cross the line and really put themselves, at risk. I'm just not quite sure if they're ready for that, to be honest.
Coach,
I agree with you, Coach. I think that the reason why they can't do it, because most of them don't. Finances still boil down to this. Every one of them still got to get a paycheck. So they may hold out 1 or 2 games, but after that, I still got $1 million mansion I got to pay for. I got 2 Ferraris that I bought that I can't drive. I don't even know how to let the window down in it, but I'm going to pay for it because we were never taught finance. We were never taught how to structurally do what we need to do. And anything that you organize, you got to have a plan. You got to have a vision, and you got to focus in on 1 or 2 things that, what are you trying to accomplish? Right now, we're all over the place. We're all over the place. We want to talk about Breonna Taylor. We want to talk about George Floyd. We want to talk about this. What are we focusing in on? Is it police brutality? Is it the hiring process of Black people in itself? Is it the equality for women? What are you standing for and what are you fighting for? I think that's what it really boils down to. And if you don't have something, dealing with those type of people with money, they want to have a plan, and they'll say, okay, what are we willing to bargain with? And what are we willing to give up in order to make these people happy so we can go back to business as usual?
Andre?
Yeah, we just got a comment from Facebook. It's from Sandra Keaton. And she says, there's just as much white on white crime as it is black on black crime. We're just on the news more. And, I think that is a really important point to keep, because I remember on the last show we did that was brought up. And, many of the crimes that we see is a crime, they're crimes of proximity. You know,
Right.
those crimes are perpetuated against the people that are closest to you. And I think that it has been a systematic approach to make us villainize ourselves, for us to see our own selves as the criminal, as the aggressor. And the truth is, it is the same on the other side as well.
Yeah, very good point, Lamondre. Good point. So let's segue that into our next question about Dak Prescott. I mean, this could easily tie in. He was talking about his struggles with depression. He lost his brother to suicide. And then Skip Bayless, the talking head, everybody knows who Skip Bayless is, told him really basically just to suck it up and to play football. I mean, that's basically was his comment. So, coming from the Black community, you guys know it's something that we don't talk about. But I think it was very important for him to bring that out because it is something that we do need to talk about. So what do you guys, first of all, think about Skip Bayless telling him to just shut up and basically play football? And then what do you think about us not being equipped a lot to talk about mental health within our community? Coach Williams, you want to start with us?
Well, I think Skip Bayless has put himself in a situation where he lives in a matter of fact type of world. I mean, it's run through the wall. It's straightforward. It's all about not having a whole lot of compassion when it comes to him.
Right.
Just get the job done at whatever cost you got to get the job done. And I think he got himself, caught up in that by not really showing any compassion to what is a disease that has never had any compassion. So if we're talking about suck it up and you got a twisted ankle and you need to suck it up and keep playing, but this disease has, and I've had it in my family too, but this disease has been so disrespected. We'll use that word again, but so disrespected for so long. He's got to, he has to, put himself in the mindset where let me think before I speak on this one, and let me think what the history of this is, and definitely let me think about how that disease has affected the African American community too. So and normally Skip Bayless does a decent job of staying within the lines of not necessarily taking sides, but I think on this one he didn't really think, and you just when you're talking mental illness, man, you got to see what that history is, and we've pushed that under the rug for a long time. So definitely a big mistake by him.
Yeah, we have, and especially within our community, but men in general. I'll kind of give a personal story to kind of tie this together. That as Black men, we'll always come up to each other. Even some of my white friends, I say we'll say, "What's up? What's going on? How's everything? You good?" And we always good. We always fine. If we talk about something, it's always surface stuff like who gonna win the game. How many fish you catch. I don't know, whatever the case may be, but it's never about real stuff that goes on in our lives because we've always been taught that if you show vulnerability, if you express, any kind of weakness or feeling, that makes you weak or less than. And especially in the Black community, because we've had to carry so much in terms of the things that we deal with just on a regular basis. But depression is very real. Me and some of my former teammates, when I played at the University of Alabama, we talk about it all the time. It's about the fact that, especially when you have kids 18 and 22 years old, and let's just take guys who didn't make it to the NBA or who didn't make a living playing professional sports, and you go to college and you leave completely unequipped to deal with the real world. You don't even know how to write a resume. You don't know how to go on a job interview. You've taken classes that have nothing to do with how you're going to be able to survive out in the real world. And then you leave a university who forgets all about you because you can no longer play. Guys go through a phase of, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? How am I going to, feed myself, feed my family? That's depression sets in. You go from being everything, and then in the blink of an eye, you go to being nothing and everybody just like everybody else. And it's very, very real. And I know guys who have struggled with that. And I think all of us who played on any kind of level, and then you wake up the next day and you're just a normal person, so to speak, that's a hard thing to deal with. And then you don't express it because it makes you feel weak. And the people that you do express it to say, what do we always say in the Black community? Man, you better get yourself together. You better suck it up. You better do what you got to do. And that's not really what you're looking to hear. You're looking for support, and you're looking for people to try to help and guide you. And I think in the Black community, it's just things that we don't do. And we're viewed upon as Black men, especially Black athletes, as, what is deemed valuable is your looks, your body, the way you play sports, never your mind, your intellect, what you bring to the table. That's never of value. It's always the physical part that has been of value. So it's something that's just been ingrained in us over the years, and we have to do a better job of learning how to express that and talk about it. And it's okay to be vulnerable. And I think Dak Prescott did a great thing. I think the vulnerability shows leadership. I think it shows that I'm a man. I can be vulnerable. I can talk about the things that scare me, that worry me, that I deal with. That's what a leader does. Not being afraid of what people are going to think about what you say, but I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to show you how I deal with it, and I'm going to lead by actions, not just by words. So I like what he said, but I think it's a conversation that a lot of Black men need to start having.
And I agree with you, Marvin. And I think I tally back on Coach Williams. Skip put himself in a bad predicament there. It wasn't like he lost his brother. And I don't know if you grew up. I got a brother. If I lost my brother today, we're not right next to each other. But my time at Stillman, it's days I miss my brother. I wish I had him. Some days he comes over. So imagine the fact that you can't pick up the phone and you can't call him anymore. You can't talk to him. I don't care what that does. That does something to you if you were close to those people. I mean, the mental conditioning, the mental health condition, that's a big major concern amongst athletes. Simply because even when after that moment for signing day, and in high school, he thought that he was going Division I, and he really believed that he was going to get, and he gets no offers. It's D1 or nothing. He goes through a depression. So you imagine a guy at my level, I get him, and I give him a scholarship and giving him opportunity to go to school. And it takes me 2-3 years to get him out of the tank, to get him to a point to where he wants to play and realize I'm just playing this ball. I can make it from anywhere. I just got to dedicate my time and my foot. But he's still going through something that he didn't get the goal that he really outset to get. Coach Williams can attest to this. When we were coaching arena football, there were guys that really thought they left Clemson, Florida State, these places, that they were going to the NFL. They were going to the NFL. Then I had to deal with the reality. I'm about to go down here and play what I call slave football for a little while, and I got to pay my dues to make it. Some of them mentally couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
And then there's some mentally that when they get in that position, they stay trapped in it because they mentally can't let go, or they got the hopes that somebody's going to come get me. And you look up and they're 34, 35-year-olds still trying to make a play on a field to hope that the NFL is going to come get me. And then let's say nothing happens after that. That's real depression, because half of my life done passed me by, the workable years of my life. Let's say I done had knee injuries, my back hurt, my shoulder hurt. That's depression. Now we got to turn to alcohol. I got to smoke weed because the pain won't set in. I have nobody to believe in me. My family calls me a bum, and I can't find a job. So I'm still trying out for teams to say, I'll make it. It's a hard thing. I don't care what nobody say. Dak got a job, but he lost his brother. And Skip could have had some type of sympathy for that. Mm-hmm. I lost my brother. As a mother, a father, a sibling, that's almost off limits. You can't even call that mental health. That right there does something to the regular human being who has everything going on in their life. It still affects them in some way, and you have to not be, you can't be nonchalant to that matter. And I think as a coach, I always try to sympathize, whether it be a grandparent, a brother. A lot of the kids we deal with, they lose friends, people they went to high school with, and I spend all day counseling them on the fact that, hey, it's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be okay. It sounds good, but I can't deal with the fact that they thinking about memories that they share with that person, or they'll use the term as, I could have been with him that night. I should have been with him, or I could have did something differently. And they carry that guilt, just like he may feel about his brother. He's carrying that guilt because he has a lot of pressure on him as the quarterback in general of the Dallas Cowboys, the American football team. That's a lot of pressure that he gonna get Sunday night games, and they're already, criticizing him because of the contract layout, the whole nine. They already think he's gonna be a failure. That man got more pressure on him than anybody else that wake up in the morning. He gotta almost do everything perfect, and then I lose my brother on top of that. How would you deal with it?
Right. It's difficult, man, and I just think about it from guys I played with, and I always go back to this. It's and you guys know this being coaches, and it's a high that you get. Like sports is like nothing else. When you're in front of 20, 30,000 and you performing and you playing at a high level, like that feeling you get from sports is like nothing else that you can get anywhere else in life. You can't. I don't care what level it is.
No doubt.
It is. It's just something that you can't replicate once you leave there. And the problem, especially when you start talking about these Power 5 schools and these bigger schools, is that it's a churn and burn. It's like I'm using you to make this university millions and millions of dollars, but I'm not really investing in you as a human being. I'm not really investing in you as a player. I'll act as if I'm investing as you as a player, or as a person, but I just need to keep you eligible, and I just need to keep you generating dollars for this university. And it's a shame that so many guys I know that leave just ill-equipped to deal with what they're going to face in life. And as you said, Coach Keaton, I don't care, all of us, if we didn't make the league, the first thing they talk about is, I'm going to go play overseas. I'm going to go this. I'm going to go, I'm going to go do that. You have a 3-year overseas year career. You made no money. You got no skills. You can't, like I said, you can't write a resume. You don't know, nobody can get you a job. University don't like you. And like you said, Coach, everything spirals down from that point. So we have to do a better job of equipping all, especially young black men, but all basketball, football players that go to college. There's that drop off. And just in everyday black community as well, though, not being able to find jobs, the things that we have to go through. We need to do a better job of being able to talk about this and support one another, and stop asking all these surface questions that we ask, and really ask the brother if he's okay.
But Marvin, there's a thing that needs to happen at all levels. And like I said, I'll go back to Coach Williams. I tell people all the time I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, because I can name about 8 players that played for us in Odessa, Texas, that are still stuck in a rut. They played and they have nothing else to last for. That's it. If the Roughnecks brought a team back tomorrow, they'll be still trying to go out there and try out. I remember a guy, and I'm not gonna call his name. He was old enough to run like the Tin Man, and he decided he wanted to play linebacker. And I mean, he really fought it out. He didn't. That was all mental. And I think, let me ask you this, Marvin. You and Coach Williams both played Division I football. After Division I football over with, do you think the coaches need to do a better job of having organizational, structured things to the people that don't make it?
Absolutely. I mean, that's 100%. Like, if you're part of a program, it shouldn't be a program that benefits you for 4 years and then you done. I mean, this is and this is why I like in the new bill that they're talking about lifetime scholarships, because let's just be honest. The majority of guys aren't going to finish. Some guys will leave. Some guys will fail out for whatever reason. Some guys will be done in 4 years and go off and try to make basketball to play somewhere and don't make any money. And then universities don't allow them to come back. So I like the lifetime scholarship proposal that they have out, but it needs to be where we're giving you an opportunity to learn life skills. You've done a tremendous job for us as a student athlete. You've made us a lot of money. You've represented the university well. Let's help you do the things that you need to do to be successful in society and to put yourself up to maybe break the trend. Because the majority of guys I played with, I was fortunate. I came from a good high school. I had a great high school coach. Academically, I came from a good high school. But the majority of guys I played with didn't come from where I came from. Okay. A lot of them wouldn't be in college without being able to dunk or shoot a jumper or defend somebody. And a lot of them knew that. And they came to school to try to make it to the league. And I think it's universities' jobs to help mold these guys, to let them understand that that they're more than the athletic ability they bring to the table. And that's what a university's job should be. But sadly, that's not what happens.
Coach Williams?
Man, I mean, I'll tell you real quickly, when I came out, and I ended up going back home to finish my degree after I got done playing. And I did not know how to do anything. I mean, my wife today was my girlfriend then. We laugh about it all the time. I didn't know how to set up my classes. I didn't know what to do to go to get books. I knew nothing about how to make anything go for myself.
Right.
So, I mean, there needs to be an outgoing process. I mean, They talk about putting us in study halls and they do all these things to make sure we stay eligible. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I mean, to me, the mark of a good college coach is if I ask you where are your guys that you had last year, what are they doing now?
Right.
So if I ask you about a kid and you don't know what he's doing, and we're just 1 year removed from that kid finishing his eligibility,
Right.
and I know what you are as a coach. I just
Right.
understand I don't even have to ask any more questions because I know. So I think we definitely should be doing, an outsource, and put us back into the world, with some education. I mean, you cared about us every day of our lives while we were doing it. I mean, I'm telling you, man, and I can only imagine. And that was my struggle. That was my struggle on a simple stage. Imagine what that's like for guys that have to go back to certain neighborhoods and certain family structures and that sort of thing. So yeah, if you're gonna care, you gotta care all the way around.
And just to add one more thing to that, coaches, think about the guys who got to go back to those neighborhoods, who left those neighborhoods where everybody said they was about to make millions.
Mm-hmm.
They was the top of the top, and they can't miss. And and then you get to college and you like, damn, everybody just as good as I am, and you don't make it, and you go back to that same neighborhood and everybody's still talking to you and being like, damn, dog, you didn't make it. What happened? Why you didn't make it? You don't think depression don't set in for guys? Absolutely. I see it every day. I've seen it from a lot of guys that I played with. It's embarrassing. There's a weight of the world that's put on you, thinking that you're going to change a lot of life for a lot of people. And then you go 4 years, and then that 5th year, you right back at home doing the same stuff you was doing before with no degree, no job outlook, and you can't even get a ticket back to the school that you played for to go see a basketball game. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely right.
So do you think, in the segue, how does it make you feel knowing that some of your teammates, the guys that wasn't necessarily the superstars of the team, and they sit back and they get the GA job, they have a plan for their life, they got things going on. And I see it a lot with the white coaches, the white kids. They get a plan and they know, okay, they'll leave straight off the football field, they become GAs, they get opportunities that you went out there and slave busted. There was a particular DB that played at the University of Alabama that played for a coach in the NFL and then came back, and they still wanted to be a position coach on the team, but it wouldn't even talk to him, wouldn't even listen to him. How are you good enough to play at the top level of college football and pro football and not yet be afforded an opportunity to coach a position that I would presume you being an expert at? How does that make you feel as a player? And just in any retrospect, how does that make you feel?
Coach, you want to tackle that one?
I mean, it makes you feel horrible, man, because you know the reality. The reality is that we are looked at as second string when it comes to what we can do in the coaching world. I mean, if I always say if a certain type of guy can cut his hair a certain way and walk in a room and people give him credit for being a great coach, you don't know what he can do, but he looks the part. So for us, we don't necessarily walk in the room looking the part. So that's why in a lot of ways they don't groom us to go up the ladder. I mean, we've got Black Coaches Association. It takes us the Rooney Rule to get a job in the NFL. I mean, it's at the end of the day, when we know what game we're playing, there's no question about the game that we're playing. And on that side of the stick, they got to help us out with that. I mean, you got to, just like we're talking about in the world and the social issues that affect us in this world, it's the same thing, if not more so, in the coaching community, that we got to start looking out for everybody and seeing the knowledge that everybody has, and everybody should be able to move up that ladder the same way. But there's no doubt that every Black coach, whether you're in college, professional level, every Black coach knows what it's like to live as a Black coach every day. There's a different lifestyle that we lead. There's different things that we have to face. Everybody knows what that is. We don't always talk about it, but we all know when we get up and leave the door, leave home that day, what we're about to go deal with in our world. And it's just there, and it's been there for a long time.
Yeah, well said, Coach. So let's segue into our next question then with that, in terms of Black athletes today, and especially prominent Black athletes. What do you think their responsibility is in everything that we're seeing, the social climate that we're in? Should we expect more from the Black athlete since they do have such a wide casting social net? Should they be doing more, or do we need to take more responsibility and stop looking up to athletes or entertainers or pastors or whoever it may be, the voice in your community? Should we stop looking up to those people to make our lot and lives better? Is it more of our responsibility? So let's tackle that and see what you guys think about. Is it athletes' responsibility?
You know what?
You want me to go first? Oh, okay.
Me personally, I think it is. I mean, I'll go quick, but I'll go back and ask you. You know, do everybody thinks that Colin Kaepernick, did enough? I mean, he kneeled, he lost his job. He's no longer in the NFL. Most people think that was enough, but for me, I was waiting on him. He had the stage, he had the stage, and he had the attention. And if Colin Kaepernick had rallied the troops, I'm not saying anything against what he did because I love what he did. I just did not like the follow up. You know what I mean? So if we have the stage, I mean, you have just as black people, period. If you have a stage, whether that be the city's high school head coach, if you have a stage of attention, you have to reach back and grab everybody else. So I just thought in that situation, Kaepernick had everybody's ear. If he wanted to rally the troops and say million men are going to meet somewhere, million men would have met. You know what I mean? So we stopped it just short of really getting over the hump. And that's my opinion on that. But I definitely think that guys have to be responsible and be willing to do and go all the way.
I gotta, with Colin Kaepernick, of course, we all knew what his protest was about and what he was kneeling for. But there was a sour taste left in my mouth, and I'm with you, Coach Williams, where I think he stopped just short. Like, if you're gonna go in, go all the way in. And the buyout from the NFL really kind of put a sour taste in my mouth when it came to Colin. Yeah. Like what I get it, man. I appreciate what you did, but what you really standing for? Because you had, like you said, Coach Williams, you had the platform. You were able to do something that galvanized a country, good and bad. But you had the platform to really make a change, and it was on the level of a Muhammad Ali, where he lost things, and a Kareem, like we said earlier, people who stood for something and lost things. Like, you had an opportunity to do it. Mm-hmm. And then we hear about the NFL buyout, and he's been real quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, real quiet. You can't start something like that and then just, have a couple commercials produced, and I'm still supposed to think that you're the face of it. Like, how you feel, Coach Keaton, about that?
You took my thunder when I said that. It kind of left a taste in my mouth too. But I'll say it like this. It happens in all aspects when we talk about the Black Lives, racial injustice. It gets a little bit of a spark, like a big flame, and then it gets blown out. We get bought out. We get told to shut up. We get put in a corner, and this is what you're going to do, and this is how you're going to do it. You're stopping money. We don't know what Colin had made a deal on the back end to get some money. Now, let's be clear. Colin wasn't doing really well as he left the 49ers now. It ain't like, I was totally against as a coach. I'm saying that he wasn't putting up no flying numbers to say that he deserves another chance. There's some people out there that are arguing with this, but he wasn't doing that. So he had an opportunity. And then we got to go back to what I said earlier about 4 shows ago when we talked about the money part of it. A lot of those kids got to play in football because they spend more than they make. Mm-hmm. So you talking about, you asking them to make us a decision to say, I'm going to change my lifestyle. And I got to think about, well, I'm fighting for injustice here, but what am I getting out of it? I'm going to lose all my money. I'm going to lose all my cars. Some white man that got in his ear and told him that ain't going to stop the killing of each other on their corners. That ain't going to stop the crack sales. That ain't going to stop the prostitution. And here's what we're going to do for you. We're going to give you a deal with Nike. Nike's going to pay you a great deal of money. And we're going to let you get a couple T-shirts printed up. And we're going to put Black Lives on it. And we're going to hold the fist up. And we're going to say, fight the power. But you need to be quiet. Don't say nothing else, because you're not good for business right now. Because they know the power that you have if they were able to shut down the money-making machine.
Right. If
it was shut down, and I'm talking about all of them stood on the platform that they have, because it's the same thing that's going on in the SEC. And forgive me for saying it, but they got these guys on mute. These guys can't say anything. We've been guests on this show that I saw them as coaches when questions were asked. that will really could make a difference when you got that stage, they really looking over their shoulders like, oh, did somebody hear me? I'll say what I'll say around my dinner table, but they're not going to let a microphone go in my face and say. They train those guys to be quiet. They train them what not to tweet. They're not letting this stuff get out. They don't care about the Black Lives Matter situation. They care about their bottom line. And they tell their kids, and I know in the SEC, it's all a big conversation about if we don't play, how are you going to go to the league? It's going to stop you.
Oh,
then you put a
absolutely.
kid at 18 to 22-year-old, all he really came to school for anyway was to get the opportunity to play 4 years and go to the league. So now you saying if I don't play this year, I'm not going to get an opportunity to go to the league. It's the same feeling as the NFL player with my check. I need that check to pay for my Ferrari, to pay for my 13-bedroom house. I got to pay for this stuff. So you think I'm about to stop because Breonna Taylor got shot, but my cousin Pookie and Ray Ray and them got shot, and nobody marched and protested for Ray Ray and Pookie. So that's the way they feel. And I get passionate about it because I feel that there's always somebody to cut you off. Even when they brought Jay-Z in. Jay-Z is my Coach Williams. No, I'm a Jay-Z fan. It's everywhere. I listen to his music, the whole nine. But when Jay-Z got a seat at the table, the door shut and he went silent.
He went silent.
And that tells you that there's a bigger monster that's being fed here. And if we talk long enough, somebody gonna pull us to the side and tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you're talking too much.
Yeah.
Or they try to kill you.
But, it's a microcosm of the fact that we got 3 major sports leagues, and I think it might comprise of maybe 92 some odd teams, somewhere around there. And we got one majority owner that's Black, and that's Michael Jordan. I mean, that tells you all you need to know from a fiscal standpoint of who controls the
But how
athletes.
often do you hear from Michael Jordan?
No.
Michael Jordan threw money at a situation. He
threw
didn't
money.
get out and speak. He didn't talk. He don't do that. He threw money at the situation to say, well, hell, I'll give them a couple $100,000. They'll shut up.
Yeah.
All they wanted to do is to go away because you're affecting Michael Jordan's bottom line. You also affecting Jay-Z's bottom line because he's got part ownership in some basketball teams and some other things, and he's probably going to end up with some part ownership in his football team. But at the end of the day, we as a whole unit, any person that ever spoke up or got to talking too much, America has killed it. It goes all the way back to Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Any person that spoke up or spoke too loud, they had to have people around the FBI. This is how bad the secret is. When you got the FBI tapping your phone and you're a minister, what did that tell you? We talk about systematic. This was created a long time ago. These kids are not, they're already, as you said, most of them don't have a plan. They're not educated enough. They took general studies. They ain't had no course about public speaking or none of that. So they don't even know what they fight for. We got a different type of LeBron James. LeBron James is sitting at the highest throne of what he's going to do, but he only can say so much. And then those other people that he tried to rally behind him because they need their check. Unlike King James, they don't got a $24 million contract. They trying to make the team the next year. And if I speak up, I might get cut. I may be like Colin, man. Colin ain't got nothing.
And that's why it goes back to me from the simple point that a few prominent athletes gonna have to be willing to lose something, because right now it just feels like lip service to me. It's all symbolic. It looks great, the hashtags and the stuff on the field and the unity in front of it and all the stuff that we see. I love it. I love people coming together, but what is the substance from it? What do we get from it? And right now, not much. It's just something that we can all come together and say it looks good on TV. We all unified, but where is the substantive change? I don't know where it comes from. So it
comes from the people who can have the impact to make the change. And me and you and Coach Williams could have a conversation on the telephone, and that's about far as it's gonna go. Exactly. And then we got our own kind that will still believe that it ain't my problem. Most times things don't affect people till it happen to them.
Yeah.
Do you hear me? It doesn't affect them. Like COVID-19 is not an issue to some people until COVID-19 land on your doorstep and one of your family members is being choked out from it. That's the same thing with Black Lives Matter or any other subject that comes up. Until your aunt gets shot or get beat by the police like Rodney King, we can go all the way back for years. They've been beating folks for years. This ain't just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they had it on national TV. They talk about it for 2 days. And then the cases disappear. The guy that was jogging in Atlanta that got killed or whatever may happen, it was on the morning news for a couple of days and then it disappeared. We don't even know if they went to court. Nobody's talking about it no more. Mr. Crumpton took on 9 cases. So he can't even give us an update about what he's done. And who is Mr. Crumpton?
Right.
That's like I used to say, who is Al Sharpton? He can't speak for me. He don't know what go on in my news. I know what go on in my world. And I know that we are held back on purpose. They put certifications in place. They put so many hours, you got to do this. You need a master's. But I can coach Pee Wee football. I can coach Division I football. They cover 2. Ain't no different than my cover 2. The only difference between they cover 2 and my cover 2 is the gladiators that they have and the common guy that I got to teach him everything. I got to teach him how to do the steps, the whole 9. All they got to do is make sure he be in position to make a play. And guess what? His athletic ability is going to kick in because that's what money do for you.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about HBCUs. Well, I know this is, a subject for you, Coach Keaton. What can HBCUs what can they start doing to attract top level talent? How can we kind of shift this paradigm of college sports from predominantly white schools like I went to University of Alabama and some of your Power 5 schools to get some kids that can really shift the way that we look at college sports? How can this happen at HBCUs, Coach?
The only way it can happen, it won't happen in football. First of all, we don't have the facilities. We don't have the eye candy. We don't have the funding. We don't have that. They took that away from us in the 60s when they figured out they needed to upgrade their team. We'll never get to that point. Basketball players, because you don't have to stay committed to that place for 4 years, it's easy for them to make a transition to go play HBCU basketball and it's a big prominent thing because basketball is 5 guys that's playing. Football, you got to be looked at differently. When the NFL tells you didn't play against caliber enough talent. Your talent level wasn't there. I don't know. You wasn't coached well because you was coached by all Black people. That's another racism that I hate. I hate that stigma that we get there. We probably coaching harder than most of them coaching. The funding is the biggest piece. The money and the stage that they put these kids on when you can play on national TV, when the ACC got its own network, the SEC got its own network, Bounce TV got a network, somebody else got a network, and they throwing tens of millions of dollars to get these games on TV. What's the first thing a kid from the projects want to say? He want his homeboy on the street to see him playing at Florida State and watch him get to play. If he come to Allen, he ain't gonna be seen. But once, maybe when graduation, when they stream it live across the thing, that's when he gonna get seen. Or he at the gas station pulling up his huddle to show his homeboy that's what he's doing. He's playing. It's just not enough there to entice a kid to come back to HBCUs. It's not enough there. And I'm a HBCU product. I love what HBCUs do. I've watched a lot of guys that went to Florida State and these other places have to come coach. And the only way they get a job as a head coach or a good assistant coach or even a coordinator is they have to come back to HBCUs because that's the only place they accept it and they can go do a job and prove to somebody that they can do it. But it's not going to happen in football. Basketball, I think that they could keep fighting and get 1 or 2. It's happening already, as you can see. They're making that transition. But maybe somebody might disagree with me, but I'm in it, and I don't think it's going to happen in football.
Coach Williams?
Man, I'm gonna make a statement, then I'm gonna ask a question to both of you guys and give me some feedback and maybe help me formulate my thought. But all I can do is go back to when I was coming out of high school, and I was in that situation. I'm not gonna mention any school names, but I was in that situation where I took a visit. Of my 5 visits, one of those visits was to, a very prominent HBCU, and so. As I compared all that stuff and as I tried to figure out what am I going to do, how am I going to make my decision, as an 18-year-old kid, I'm telling you now, I made that decision based on the fact that I did not like the professionalism that I was seeing in the staff that I visited. Now I know Coach Keaton is going to run his as a football professional, as we both have been, and he still is. I'm just telling you that I know he's going to run his program to where he's going to care about the kids. He's going to make sure the kids are good when he's got them, and he's going to make sure the kids leave him in a good way. So I know that Coach Keaton is going to be a professional. But when I took that visit to this particular school, I'm telling you, when we went to the club that night, guess who I saw? The head coach was on the floor dancing with the girls I was trying to talk to. You know what I mean? So that's something that I did not understand. I didn't get it. And when I went home and I told my mom about that, and I said, I just can't do it. That's not where I'm going when I'm looking around and half the coaching staff of 40-year-old and up men are out here dancing around and talking in the corners with 19 and 20-year-old girls. So I would like to ask y'all, I mean, do we have 100% professionalism the way we should? Because in some ways, I think even if we don't have the facilities, if we all ran it the same way and we all cared about what it was from A to Z, maybe just maybe we start to get some of them kids. That's just me.
I would agree with you, Coach Williams. I would agree with you.
I agree.
I agree. I've seen some staff, and I've been a part of some staff that I saw some things that make you say, and you'd be like, well, I pride myself on taking it in order. When we bring a kid on campus, it's the first impression that you have. And even if it's not order from the coaching staff, there's a lot of problems in the internal areas with the financial aid piece, the admissions piece. Yeah. There's a lot of people that don't take it to a certain level and they don't understand. But when you go on that to visit to that school that really has it together, they're gonna have people there to address your questions. They're gonna make you feel wanted. Sometimes we talk jive turkey talk. That's what I tell them. We're not talking about the meats and bones of what this kid and what makes my institution is to why I should choose to play here. I was on a radio show the other day and they was commending me. I got 5 Power 5 kids on my team right now currently. And they wondering, how did you get 5 Power 5 football players to transfer out of the transfer portal to your school? I said, well, my reputation kind of precedes me. They know that it's business. They know I'm going to help them do what they need to do. Their athletic ability ain't got nothing to do with me as a coach. What they do is going to be off, how do I lead them? How do I make them take the next step to be great players? How do I convince them that they can go to the league from where I'm at? And I don't even talk about the NFL. You know why? Because I tell them, if you go to the NFL, it's going to be a byproduct of your talent. Anything else I'm trying to do, I'm preparing you to be a productive citizen. But a lot of coaches don't think like that. They're going to bring them there. They're going to talk jive turkey. They might even date their girlfriend, and it causes a fight there. It's a lot of things that happen at HBCUs. Not all of them, but there's some of them that's out there that needs to have some change in leadership. And I think that's why we see a curve of a lot of these white coaches are starting to get jobs as head coaches of the HBCUs.
Yeah, and I think you hit something on the head there, Coach. When I was coming out, I didn't really get recruited by any HBCUs. And if I would have, I wouldn't have gone. For me, it was all about, where I could go as a freshman and start playing on TV and maybe make it to the league. That's what it was about. But if you take me, where I am now in life and take me back to 18 to 22 years old, my perception of an HBCU right now would be completely different because the majority of us don't make it professionally. And there's something to be said to being in an environment that can enhance who you are as a person and understand who you are. You walk into a classroom and you're around people that look like you and think like you, and you're treated as not an athlete, even though you are, but we all won. When I walked into a class at the University of Alabama, everybody knew I was an athlete and I was the only black dude in the class. That's just the way it was. So I think HBCUs can maybe try to start honing. You may not get the marquee players coming out of high school, but you can get enough of those middle players to make a difference to really start making you reputable. Think about Norfolk State. Remember when they made that run a couple years ago in the NCAA basketball tournament? And I think that just that run bought like between $2 and $4 million to the athletic department just on that little run they had. And they had a whole bunch of tweeners on that team that a lot of them could have played high Division I, but they got them to come to Norfolk State. If you could start recruiting like that and getting guys to understand that you're probably not going to make the league, but we can do some great things here. We can enhance you as an individual and help you get to where you need to be in life. and to develop the skills that you're going to need when you leave here, and you can have a whole bunch of fun playing basketball, maybe going to an NCAA tournament, and people remembering you forever because you've done something that most of people don't get a chance to do. I think HBCUs need to start going at it a little bit differently. You're not going to get the Von Makers that they're talking about all the time. But if you can start kind of delving into who I can make you as an individual once you leave this university, I think that can make a difference. But I agree. I know a lot of guys that coach in HBCU, and I think to myself, how are you a coach?
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Well, the biggest thing is the next thing is the recruiting ability. Some of them recruit at a level of their confidence level. They won't go after that guy. They're not going to talk to that guy.
Right.
And those type of recruits take a lot of conversation piece, a lot of late night phone conversations. A lot of them don't have that kind of dedication to the game because they don't make, a $500,000 a year to spend half of their night on the phone with a guy. But me personally, I take pride in what I do when I'm recruiting. It goes back to when I was with Coach Williams. I think about the guys that we put together on that team and how well they converse. Nobody's going to get a canary night. We go after Ahmad Childress. These guys played at the University of Alabama. We went after guys that most people what's Fegan? What's his last name? Michael Fagan. Those guys, man. Those guys were good, solid football players, and we convinced them that you can come here and we're gonna, create a way. Coach had one of the best quarterbacks, arguably, in my opinion, that I've seen ever. Tommy Johns was one of the best quarterbacks that I could ever arguably talk about. You don't get a Tommy Johns to come play at that level of arena football, and you got to have a mouthpiece to be able to convince him of why he's gonna come here. And I think a lot of the HBCU coaches recruit at a level like, I'm just going to wait till recruiting season is over and I'm going to take what's left over. So that's why the football sometimes looks bad. And sometimes they get thrown on them because the perception of coaches that may coach high school to say, well, you can play at a HBCU. Why can't you just be looked at as a regular college football player? When I walk in the door, I'd be like, I want to talk to him. I don't want to talk to him. You let him make that decision. After I get to talking to him, if he decides he don't want to come, I wanted Coach Williams on. I wanted him to come play and run track for me. But guess what? If CJ didn't want to come play for me, I couldn't make CJ come play for me. But CJ had to go to the places that made him feel comfortable, because at the end of the day, if he's spending 4 years there and he's not comfortable, guess what? He's going to leave me anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, let's hit one thing. I didn't get a chance to hit it last show. We running up against some time here, but give me one thing that, as a parent, if you had a kid, and I know both of you do, getting recruited by colleges, what is the most important thing that you would look for in a college where you would send your son or daughter to go play a sport? Just give me your most important thing before we wrap it up. Coach Keaton, I'm gonna let you go first.
How much does he care about me? Nobody want to know how much you know until they know how much you care. And that some phone conversations, what you talk about, how you translate and inspire that, you can't fake it. It's a lot of things you can fake. Your energy, you can't fake it. When people see you and they know it, they can breathe a fake. Their energy lets you know that they're fake. So a lot of times when coaches come into your house and they sit down with your family, they don't have a good conversation piece. They can't tell you success stories. They don't have the other people that can speak behind it to say, they know when you they pick the certain players. Know what I do with my people? I let them walk around the campus and they can talk to anybody they want to talk to. Yeah. And that's a reflection of who I am. And they'll all say the same thing because I treat them all the same. Nobody's no better, no great player, no lower player. I treat them all the same, and they all know that, and I care. So, Coach Williams.
Yeah. And I'll just be quick. I mean, I'll lean back on what I said earlier. I mean, I want to know about what you've done or what you know about the kids that you've coached in the past, and that's the way I went about my own son's recruiting process. Just tell me a little bit about what you guys that you've had. What are they doing now? And can you tell me what they're doing? Do you really know what they're doing? And and did you take a part in kind of helping them get to where they moved to after they got done playing for you? So, and that's, like I said, you can tell a lot about a guy in the way he answers a question like that, and that's the way I always looked at it.
Yeah, Coach Williams, I piggyback off of that. I think the biggest thing is about player involvement in a program. How many guys come back to be involved in your program that you've coached, and what kind of impact have you had? And not, maybe not a guy from last year or 2 years ago, but you got guys from 10 years ago or 12 years ago that you can still come back, you can still come back and support the program. I think that says all that you need to know about a college program that's tight and that has a coaching staff or a coach that has cared about his players throughout the year. So that's one of the most important things to me. So we up against it, guys. That hour goes quick.
Yeah.
We got some things we missed. I did want to get to the NFL thing, but we'll get to that next time. But Coach Chris Williams, I really want to thank you for dropping in, man, and dropping some knowledge on us at the last minute. You decided to come on, so we really do appreciate that. We want to have you back. There's a lot of other stuff we want to tackle with you. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Coach Keaton, always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you taking your time. I know you got a lot of stuff that you have obligations to, so I always appreciate the time. And of course, I'm Marvin Orange, and we got Lamondre in the background, always tying it in for us. But that is After the Buzzer Sports Podcast. Everybody enjoy their Friday evening. We will see you Monday, 8 o'clock. Thanks again.